Daytona International Speedway. January, 80 degrees. You couldn't ask for better weather. The sound of engines means springtime's in the air. I've been down here sometimes when it's been 20 degrees, 25 degrees. When the Daytona 500 Speed Weeks kick off next month, might be a different story, but right now it's beautiful. And what we're looking for Monday morning at Daytona in Round 2 of Daytona 500 testing, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in Rick Hendrick's car, and Kevin Harvick, the guy who won the race last year, and Jeff Burton, his teammate. Kurt Shelmerding was here last week helping the Richard Childress team work out. And he was talking about some of the fun times he had on his off weekends. And he had a heck of a lot more off weekends than the rest of us did.
I mean, if I can pull this off, it'll be a big thing, you know. It's a big race to make, and for the cars that aren't in the points, it's tough. There's going to be one of the past champions, so there's only 7 spots, and the way the heat races go is a question mark. Qualifying, it's not an impound race, so that's a little different than the other plate races. You know, we won't know until Thursday night.
We're also waiting for Tony Stewart, Denny Hamlin, and maybe even Joe Gibbs, now that he's not coaching the Redskins anymore. They can show up here. They're going to be under the gun because Toyota was hot last week. Kyle Busch may be upstaging his teammates, his new teammates. Kyle Busch really looks strong. Of course, he had a little running on Friday in the Truck Series and had to load up and go home, and everybody was blaming him for the incident, but that's racing at Daytona, where the unexpected can be expected. We're also waiting to see how the Dodgers are going to go. Talked to Michael Delahunty last week, and he's going to be back this week.
I guess it was a mixed year for us. Running both cars turned out to be a little bit more of a challenge, and I think that all of us kind of comprehended what it might be. And the one thing I guess that we look at, it was just an unlucky year for us. We had so many opportunities, so many times, and I don't know what it is about the racing luck, the way it turned, but too often it did turn against us. I mean, think about Ryman Noon leading at Charlotte. Great
that
restart.
Was incredible.
Right? Great. And you know, that turns against us. At Dover, Kurt Busch, you know, leading a pack full of Dodges. We had the top 10 jammed with Dodges at Dover, and he picks up a piece of metal in his front tire, you know, as a result of the crash there, and takes out 4 or 5 Dodges all at one time. I mean, we were sitting pretty there. I mean, you could look at race after race. Look at Daytona. Kurt Busch leading, right? I mean, the season started that way and it ended that way for us. So, you know, how much bad luck can one brand take at one time? So, it is what it is. That's racing. And the good news is, every year, they hit the reset button and we start fresh.
Ray Abraham's going to be here, I hope. He's got Patrick Carpentier in the car that Scott Riggs drove last year. We'll see how the Canadian can do. Juan Pablo looked pretty good last week. The Dodgers weren't that impressive, though. Ryan Newman may be the guy to watch when we get to the Dodgers part of the schedule this week. He's down here in Penske's car. But the Penske guys didn't seem to have much fun last week. And then there's Robbie Gordon. He's still ticked off about the car being canceled. He spent $5 million preparing for that 16-day run.
But rumor has it that potentially there could be a rally this year, which would keep all my current sponsors' contracts in place, because there will be some type of an event. The biggest problem is if there's no event at all, and that's what I'm really concerned about, is what happens if there's just no event. If they have a replacement race, there won't be any loss of money. Then it'll just be, okay, who's going to drive these cars? There's a lot of options out there. I think the ASO will make the decision. Unfortunately, I'm not part of those decisions of what the rally is going to be, but I know that I'm in a very awkward situation with Hummer, Monster Energy, Toyo Tires, and 4-Wheel Parts on what's going to happen if there's not a rally. And I think that's the biggest concern. Hopefully, and I pray, that they figure out some kind of event and that my sponsors will agree that if I can't do it as a driver, we'll get X driver to drive one of these Hummers and go there and try to win the rally.
He'd like to see one anywhere. He's going to run a few road races in the Southwest United States the next couple of weeks just to keep in shape. It's not likely he'll be able to run whatever the rally is, but he might be able to run a couple days. Trains, boats, planes, he says he can handle it. And that's a little of what's on tap for this week, round 2 of Daytona 500 testing at Daytona International Speedway. Mike Mulhern for the Winston-Salem Journal and JournalNow.com.